Hello everyone. Hope you all are good in health. In our previous session, we learned about reflex actions and reflex arms. Today we will learn about human brain. We all know how the brain is important to all human beings. Brain is the main coordinating center of the body. Brain gives a set of instructions for performing different activities by humans. If you remember, in our previous session, I mentioned that spinal cord is a part of CNS, Central Nervous System. Brain also is a part of CNS. That means CNS, Central Nervous System, consists of spinal cord and brain. So, brain and spinal cord both receive information from all parts of the body and integrate it, and it interprets the information. Now, I want you to note about different types of responses. Here, we will learn about two types of responses. One, that is voluntary responses, and second, that is involuntary responses. Let me give you example. Think of our actions like writing, talking, moving a chair, clapping. This all are examples of voluntary actions. How are they said as voluntary actions? Because in all these actions are based on deciding what to do next. So, in these actions, the brain also has to send messages to muscles. Okay. For example, you are writing an answer in your exam. So, when you write, you need to think what to write next. For that, the brain has to send messages to muscles in the hand. That is why we have to decide what to do next. So, this type of actions are said as voluntary actions. The second response is that is involuntary actions. Here, we can take examples of our heartbeat. For example, respiration. This all are considered in involuntary actions. Let us first talk about voluntary actions. We have already discussed that the brain also has to send messages to the muscles. Now, this communication between the central nervous system and the other part of the body is done by peripheral nervous system. This is important to note. Communication between central nervous system CNS and other parts of the body. Now, as we all know that brain has to interpret the message, spinal cord has to gather the information and it has to interpret the message, and they have to send a message to the muscles of the different parts of the body. Now, there should be a connection between the two. Which two? CNS, central nervous system, and other parts of the body. So, between these two, there should be a way, communication. So, who is doing that? That is done by nerves. Nerves will help for sending messages from central nervous system to different parts of the body, and these nerves are part of peripheral nervous system. Remember, these nerves are part of peripheral nervous system, which consist of cranial nerves, which arising from the brain, and spinal nerves arising from the spinal cord. From the words itself we can understand it. Cranial nerves they are arising from the brain, and spinal nerves which are arising from the spinal cord. So they are part of what? Peripheral nervous system. And what is their function? To make connection between brain, spinal cord and different parts of the body. So the messages which brain or spinal cord gives, that is sent via this peripheral nervous system. This you need to remember. Now let us learn about structure of human brain. Human brain has three major parts of regions. First, forebrain, second, midbrain, and third, hindbrain. Human brain is very important topic, so you must pay attention here well. Human brain is divided into three major regions. First, forebrain, second, midbrain, and third, hindbrain. First, let us talk about the forebrain. The forebrain is the main thinking part of the brain. That means the main part by which we think, that is done in the forebrain. You can refer to the figure to see where it is. The forebrain has regions which receive sensory impulses from various receptors. What do? They receive sensory impulses from receptors. We have already learned about receptors in our previous session. We learned about ears, eyes, nose, tongue. This all we learned, right? So from that sensory receptors, it receives impulses. Now, separate areas of the forebrain are specialized for hearing, for smell, for seeing, etc. Now, there are separate areas where this sensory information is interpreted by putting it together with the information from the other receptors as well, with the information which is already stored in the brain. Now, think that you are giving a test. For that, you have to write different answers. So, you have already studied it before. How are you able to write it? The information which you have gathered, that must be stored somewhere, right? So, where does it get stored? It gets stored in this forebrain. So, here in the forebrain, the regions will collect the information which they gather from sensory organs, as well as the information which is already stored in the brain. Take an example that you have to write answer. Now, your hand has to write answer. So, the brain will send message to the muscles in your hand. Okay, so the brain has to gather the information from your hand as well as the answers which are already stored in your brain. So this all information brain has to put it together in sequence, and then you will be able to write the answer. So based on all this, a decision is made that how to respond for the change and how to respond to pass the information. Let me give you another example. Sometimes you are feeling that you have eaten enough. How do you feel it? Who says that you have eaten enough? For this, in our brain, in the first part, which is a forebrain, in that part there is some region separated with sensation of feeling full. So the sensation of feeling full is because of a center associated with a hunger. So that region will give information that it is full. and this will be a separate part of the forebrain. So basically, in short, I want to tell you that in forebrain there will be separate parts related to different sensations. So for all activities, the all regions will perform their own job. Now let us talk about next part. Take an example that our mouth waters when we see the food we like much. Another example, our heart beats without thinking about it. Okay, do you think that today I have to tell my heart that today you beat only 10 times or 1000 times? Is it in our control? No, it is not. Do we think that I have to remind my heart to breathe in today? Do we need to remind it? Can we give this kind of instructions to our organs? So, we cannot control this type of actions easily by thinking about them, even if we want or we don't want. This kind of actions are called involuntary actions, okay, which are continuously performed by us without thinking control. Many of these involuntary actions are controlled by the midbrain and the hindbrain. So, this is the function of midbrain and the hindbrain. All these involuntary actions, including examples are given: blood pressure, salivation, vomiting, this all are controlled by medulla in the hindbrain. Now, let me tell you about the parts of the human brain first. We already know that there are three main parts: forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Now let us talk about each one of them. Look into the figure. The upper part is forebrain. Okay. Forebrain consists of cerebrum. What is the function? It is the thinking part of the brain, which is forebrain. Another function is it controls voluntary actions. Which type of voluntary actions? Talking, writing, the things which need thinking process, okay? And it controls memory, which is already stored in the brain. It also receives sensory impulses from organs. So this is all about forebrain. What does it consist? It consists of cerebrum. Second part is midbrain. In the figure it is clearly shown. It is the middle part between forebrain and hindbrain. It is in the middle, so it is midbrain. It helps for involuntary actions. Which are they? It helps for reflex movement of neck, head, trunk, and it helps for involuntary actions. I just gave you examples of involuntary actions. So this is about midbrain. Now let us talk about hindbrain. It consists of cerebellum and medulla and pons. These three things are there in hindbrain. What is first? Cerebellum. Do not be confused by cerebrum and cerebellum. Both are different. Cerebrum is a part of forebrain. Cerebellum is part of hindbrain. Please remember the difference. So let us talk about hindbrain, which consists of cerebellum. What is the function of it? It controls postures and balance of the body. And it also controls voluntary actions. For example, when we are walking in a straight line, riding a bicycle, picking up pencil. This all are possible due to hindbrain and cerebellum. Cerebellum, which is present in the hindbrain, is responsible for such kind of activities. What kind of activities? Voluntary actions. And it is responsible for precision. That means it gives perfection. When we have to walk in a straight line, we need perfection. So, who will provide this? Cerebellum. So, it is responsible for precision for voluntary actions, and it also helps for maintaining the posture and the balance of the body. Second part of hindbrain is medulla, which controls involuntary actions. What are they? Blood pressure, salivation, vomiting, this all. And third one, in the figure also you can see, it is pons. Pons help for regulation of involuntary actions like respiration. So this is all about three main parts of brain. First is forebrain, which consists of cerebrum. Pronounce it properly, it is cerebrum. Then midbrain, and third is hindbrain, which consists of cerebellum, medulla and pons. So this is all about human brain.